Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Disruptive Voices of the Pacific. My name is Letitia Shelton and we have been uncovering a giant that exists right across the Pacific, but we're specifically focusing in on Fiji, and that's the giant of childhood sexual abuse. Not only the abuse, but the silence, the covering up, the just the protection of so many perpetrators. And I just love, if you've been following for the last few weeks, people are beginning to come up, speak out, especially the young ones. They're not prepared for their daughters and their children to go through something similar. They're speaking out against what has happened to them in the past so they can bring change. And also healing. And thank you to everyone who has messaged me over the last few weeks, just sharing your stories. Not everyone feels like they're ready to speak up, but just thank you for sharing. I consider it a real honor that you would trust me and that you would share what you have been through. So today, again, I'm interviewing another courageous young woman. Her name is Adelyn Bulla.
Bulla Tisha, thank you for having me.
Yes, well, thank you. You only just messaged me this morning or last night.
Yes.
So it's good that this has worked out because I'm about to get on a plane. So this is good timing.
Yes.
So maybe just tell our audience a little bit about yourself, where you live, what you do, where you're from.
Bolivinaka, my name is Adelyn Gok, and I'm from Wotua village in Ba, with maternal links to Malake and Ra. I'm married with two beautiful daughters, and I'm currently residing in Wollongong in Australia, and working as a project engineer in the roading industry. Thank you.
Yeah. Wow. Well, welcome to Australia. Good to have Fijians in my nation as well. So why did you message me and say, hey, I would like to be able to share my story?
It's been really heavy on my heart to share for a while now. I follow you and been going through a few stories that have been shared. But it wasn't up until my auntie Rosie, who shared probably 2 episodes ago and spoke up and spoke out about what she went through. And unfortunately, I have that same abuser. And so I felt that it was probably time to share and speak out. Yes.
Yes. So if you haven't seen Rosie's story, go back. It is 2 episodes ago. And she talked about a man in their neighborhood who sexually abused her. Were you aware that you and Rosie were being abused by the same man?
No.
No.
I just only recently found out about Auntie Rosie. It's probably last year. My older sister told me about it, which probably added more to the fire, I'd say. But no, I didn't know that Auntie Rosie went through the same thing. And watching her interview honestly brought back so many memories, kind of replayed in my head what I went through as well.
So how many girls do you think this man has abused?
Honestly, I don't know. I thought I was the only one. But this past few years, I know, like Auntie Rosie has shared, my two sisters have gone through the same thing. So I believe there's more girls that have been abused in his house. And this, yes, and sorry, I hope that I would have come out earlier, just would have saved, or the other girls wouldn't have to go through the same thing.
Yeah. And who knows what this man is continuing to do to this day.
Yes.
And so maybe it's time to start reporting his actions to the police. Hey.
Yes.
So are you able to describe a little bit of what he did to you?
Yes, it was similar to Auntie Rosie's story. So the neighborhood is so closely knit where every day after school, children from different households would come together to play sports, just a fun thing to do after school. And I always find myself at my grandmother's house. After school, we just lived down the road, so it was always nice to have my grandmother close by. Looking forward to that hot meal after school. And he was actually my grandmother's neighbor, and all the neighborhood games would normally happen at his house. I remember who would normally have children in his house watching movies. And I remember him calling me into the room. He would have the TV so loud. Thinking about it now, it's probably a distraction. But similar to Auntie Rosie's story, yes, called me into the room, and it started off like playing games, luring us with candies or whatsoever, and trying to get us in a playful mood. But his intentions definitely otherwise. He made me sit on him, kind of have a joyride, which I felt uncomfortable at first. But that's how it started. And then he would make me, he would say that he would ask if I could massage his chest, his stomach. And this happened a few occasions. I would feel uncomfortable, and I would try and run away, but I felt like I couldn't. But at one particular day, I remember he he forced me to do more. He kept pushing my hands to go further down to give him pleasures. I remember doing it for a bit, but then I just started crying because I knew it was wrong. I knew down in my heart that it wasn't right, because I've never felt that I'm uncomfortable with my own family. So I remember just running out crying and hiding away until I heard my grandmother's voice calling out my name, and came out. She heard me crying and asked me what happened.
And how old were you at this point?
Between Started at about 10. Probably went for like 10 to 11 years old, yes.
So how did you respond to your grandmother? What did you say when she asked what was going on?
I told her the truth. I told what he made me do, and I just remember probably not saying the right things because I was crying. And my grandmother was shocked. I never forget her face. And she's someone that I trusted, like really trusted. I could tell her anything. So I felt safe letting her know. And she quickly ran next door, called him out, and explained, and said what I said that he did. And he just said no, that I was lying, and that I was just making things up, and then I shouldn't do that, because he's so and so. And as Rosie mentioned, he was someone in the community that was looked up on. So he called me a liar and really convinced my grandmother that I was just making up stories.
Yeah. And that seems to be a regular occurrence among perpetrators. Do you think your grandma believed him, or she just felt like she couldn't say anything more?
Honestly, I really don't know. She, I think she kind of believed him, and probably knowing his position in the community, she probably didn't want to put herself probably out there and cause trouble. But she did tell me to just not go there again, which I didn't. And I was thankful I spoke out because that was the last incident that happened. But I just really hope that she would really believe me and we did something about it.
Yeah. Yes, that's good. I think, again, if we're going to see an end to childhood sexual abuse and to see these perpetrators dealt with, and they need help,
Yeah.
what's going on in this man's life that he thinks that he can just abuse every little girl that comes into his path.
Yeah.
But we've got to believe children. They don't make up these stories.
Yeah.
They don't. And so being able to believe them, and we've got to be prepared to make a scene because otherwise, a perpetrator never just has one victim. They go on and on and on until something happens, and they should be brought to justice. So for you, what was some of the impact that it had on you as a young girl growing up?
It kind of led me to rebelliousness, honestly.
Yeah.
I rebelled. I built up so much anger. I considered myself a liar, honestly, because I was told I was a liar. I couldn't, it also made me not able to speak out and speak up about anything that happened afterwards. Because it kept replaying in my head that someone would just say that she's lying and not believe me. So yeah, I just turned, I just rebelled.
Yes. And again, that's another constant reaction that I hear from people who've been through abuse, especially if they haven't been believed or listened to or just held it in. And so again, I want to encourage particularly parents, if your children are doing things that are out of the normal or rebelling or just doing things that are uncharacteristic, rather than scolding them, talk to them. Find out why. I mean, yes, there needs to be the appropriate discipline for bad behavior, but so often we just deal with the fruit, but there's deeper issues. Ask them questions. What's going on? Create spaces where they can talk is just so important. How do you, and again, I know you're taught a lot about respecting the elders, not speaking, doing as you say, which respect is important, but how do you find that balance between respecting, but then teaching your children that they can say anything to you about anyone at any time?
Yes. Growing up, it's been very important and it's made me the person I am today because the manners that had been taught, the respect towards our elders. But I feel that we should also communicate and teach about boundaries. And my husband and I are currently doing that with our two girls. So definitely the respect is taught. Otherwise, the manners is there, but the boundaries they should know their boundaries and also make them aware of other people's boundaries towards them. If they know they're not comfortable, they should come and let us know. If they know that they're not okay, for them to be able to open up and communicate with us, because I've felt that wasn't something we grew up with, that we weren't just able to go to our parents and say, this is what's going on. Can you help me? Or, so I truly believe that we should continue this, the respect and manners being taught to our children, but we should always teach them also about boundaries.
Does this man have a wife? Was she anywhere around?
Yes. I know this because we referred them to auntie and uncle. It wasn't just a close-knit community. We were in the same church as well. So we'd see them nearly every day. he was also a friend of my dad's, so we would have their family home as well. Yes, he is married, but I know that he stayed home for a while, and she was always working. I
Okay.
remember her catching the first 6 o'clock bus and coming back late in the evening.
Mhm. So she might not have been aware of what her husband was doing.
No.
Yeah. So unfortunately, that wasn't your the only man who has abused you. Um, it's heartbreaking. You had another incident when you were 16 or 17.
Yes. This happened in my own home. I grew up with my parents and siblings, and this uncle of mine came to live with us for a while. He had work in the West where we lived. So obviously in the Fijian community, we open our homes to other family members. So this uncle of mine stayed with us for a bit, and things just were so weird. He tried to do things that I knew was wrong by this age. I understood, I was educated on the sexual part of things, so I knew what was right and what was wrong. And thankfully, by this time, I was able to speak, because I probably had an attitude problem, kind of help things out a bit. But he did things that was weird in my own home under my mother and dad's nose, but was never seen. Or he was just being so careful that he was never caught. He would do things like I'd be sleeping and I'd wake up and he's just sitting right next to the bed staring at me. Or same thing, sleeping, and then he'll just lean over and just try and kiss me on my lips. And I would jump out of bed and just, go to my sister's room. Still didn't have the courage to let my mother and father know what was happening, because it was the fear that I had inside that had started from what happened to me earlier. In me, I felt that no one would still believe me, even at 15, at 16. I would hit him if he was close to me or he would try and do something. But that's how far I went. Nothing. I never spoke out about it until one day. The last straw for me was I finished having my shower and I came into the room and I didn't know he was hiding behind the door. So as soon as I came in, he pushed the door to try and close and lock it. And thankfully, I fought back. My parents worked hard to try and earn a living for us, so they were always away whole day working. So I remember this was during the holidays, and my siblings were home. My older sister was home as well. She was working at that time, and thankfully I was able to fight back. I managed to open the door and run to her room, and I was sobbing. She was so shocked and asked what was happening. I told her what he did, and she chased him out of the house, told him to pack his bags and to leave. And that was the last encounter I had with him. But yeah.
Wow, good on your sister. That's how we should. What do you think? What is going on in all these men's lives, and especially when they're close men that you think should protect you? What's going on in their minds to think that they can do whatever they want to young girls? Anyway.
I honestly don't know. I don't know what they're thinking. I don't know what's going through their head to be able to think that it's okay. What they're doing is okay. That's something that I'm still trying to understand till this day. That's probably where all these trust issues and things that I've been having as a young girl as well but it's just been this anger that's been built in because it's all the questions are running through my head, but I have no idea.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm. I have a few thoughts, but it's probably for another episode. And then, yeah, to top things off, somebody, when you're in college, another man attempted to rape you.
Yes. I had to attend, so I had to go to Suva to attend college to further my studies. And I was thankful that one of my uncles opened up his home for me, gave me a room to use. And I felt safe there, no doubt about it. And it was just a particular, like a random Saturday night where they had a band playing outside where there are like a lot of men. I don't know, I think they were practicing or whatsoever. But I remember the room that I used was right at the back. So it was the last room in the house. And every night my uncle would come and just make sure that everything was okay in the room. If it was cold, he would have the heater on for me. He'd come and check the windows, make sure I was tucked in. So in my head, I knew that I was expecting my uncle to come in every night. And I know he made me feel safe in his home. So I didn't worry what was happening outside. Didn't bother to lock the door whatsoever. But that particular night, after they had their band practice, there was a drinking session going on that I didn't know about, and one of the young guys that was drinking with them decided to try and come into my room. Um, I I remember hearing the door open, but I really thought it was my uncle to come in to check on me. But then felt weird because this person was trying, because it was so dark, and he closed the door behind him. So I think he was trying to feel for where I was lying down, and came to lie down like next to me and held me, kind of locked me in. And honestly, I could have yelled. I don't know why I didn't. Um, but I've never felt so scared. I thought whatever that happened to me was, finished. It wouldn't happen to me again. But at that moment, I did not know what to do. I honestly thought it was my uncle. I was so scared to open my eyes to see it, because if it was him, I don't know what I'd do, because like I said, I really trusted this uncle of mine. Um, uh, Thankfully, when how he was holding me down, because my uncle's a big build, and I could tell this person wasn't. He was small, and probably thankful that he was in a drunk state, because I was able to fight him off. Um, I after I so I, after that, I just remember just pushing him off and trying to free myself from him, and I ran out into my auntie, where my auntie was sleeping, and I went to hold her tight, and I saw him run by quickly through the back door, and yes, that's pretty much what happened, and I was just so shocked it would happen again.
Very traumatic experience. But then you've managed to find a good man and get married.
Yes, thank
Has
God.
it? Yeah, which is a miracle. Um, was it hard to trust a man and get married?
Honestly, no. I did have trust issues all my life. Um, I've never had long relationships. I would always cut them off as soon as it becomes serious. Um, that was probably one of the factors why. I didn't want to explain myself. But my husband and I have been friends for so long. Um, We were always communicating what we were going through in our own personal lives. So I was thankful he was always there. But every time he just tried to get serious, I would always shut it down. But I wasn't perfect. At this point, I was still rebelling, the drinking, the partying, going out, especially during college. I was studying in Soviet at the time, so I had that freedom because my parents weren't there. So I was really acting out. It wasn't until I was pregnant, and this was a turning point for me. And honestly, in the Fijian culture, when you're pregnant, you get married. I didn't want to get married. I was scared because even though I knew him, I still was scared to trust him. But thankfully, he set me down and he's reassured me that he would take care of me and my family and our kids, and that yeah, he would always be there for me. So that that conversation was it for me, and I said okay, because we had the pressure from both sides of the family that we had to get married. But even though the wedding, the planning was happening, I think it was a week before we got married. My husband proposed, even though we knew we were getting married. But it was just an initiative to say that he wants this as well, not from the pressure from the family or whatsoever. So that was a turning point for us, and we just knew we had to turn our life around and start off this new journey and putting God in the center.
Yeah.
Yes.
So how much healing has that brought to you, having well, God in your life, but also seems like a good man?
Honestly, it's a healing in progress.
Mm.
For me, the forgiveness and healing had started a long time back. And I feel like me speaking out today is sort of the closure that I needed. And my husband's always been there for me emotionally, spiritually, um, especially when I have breakdowns. I still have those episodes till today. And it's by the support of our circle, our close circle, our family and friends that have always been there for us, encouraging us, praying, interceding for us, that has helped me so much in my healing, that I was able to, this this young girl who had so much anger, who had so much trust issues, is gone. And it's more of, I'm a new person. So yes, I think it was definitely a big impact my husband had in my life, and also my circle. You have to have the right people in your life to be able to encourage you, to
Yeah.
help you. Be that just have that accountability partner to tell you, hey, what you're doing is wrong, or hey, speak out. So yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. One final question. If you were to meet your perpetrators again, what would you say to them?
Um, Honestly, I have met the first two encounters, because the third one, I really didn't know him. I've just said hello. Because like I said, this journey of forgiveness and healing has started a long time ago, because I'm doing it for me, I'm not doing it for them. Um, I've just said hello and kind of moved on with life. Honestly, I have no message for them, because what they did is wrong, and I can't tell them because they probably know themselves. But I'm doing this for me, to be able to give myself closure, and also probably to encourage someone or whoever out there to be able to like do the same, to find closure and probably speak up from themselves, and find that the forgiveness and just have that peace in their heart, knowing that whatever happened to you when you're small doesn't define the person you are to be or who you are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Adelyn, for opening up, being vulnerable, sharing. And we pray that God will continue to heal you, heal your heart, and heal so many other people out there who we just know
Yes.
that this is an epidemic.
Yes.
And so again, if this has been part of your journey, please contact me. I'd love to hear from you. Also, I'm going to put up a link of my website, Disruptive Voices Pacific, because we have places where you can get help, numbers where you can call, especially if you're on Fiji, just the different organizations that offer counseling, help, healing. If you're listening to this and you're a child or a teenager, you can call the child helpline and report these issues now. So there are people out there who will listen and who will believe you. So thank you so much, Adelyn.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, God bless you.
Likewise. Enjoy your trip.
I shall.